Roll call, please.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Here.
Commissioner Trujillo?
Here.
Commissioner Gandy?
Here.
Commissioner Butcher?
Here.
And Mayor Coppels.
Here. Now, Commissioner Gandy will lead us in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
We pray with me.
Thank you, Father.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for this wonderful day. Lord, we just thank you for the blessing of rain that you've put upon us. Lord, we just pray that you would be with each commissioner this evening as we prepare to go through our budget and our agenda this evening. Lord, I just pray that you would give us wisdom and foresight. Lord, I pray that we would do what is best for our community and our constituents. Lord, again, we just thank you for the hardworking employees that we have. Lord, I just pray that you would watch over them and keep them safe. Lord, as we guide and direct this community, help us to do what is right in your will. Again, Lord, we just thank you for all that you do. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I
Salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. All right, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda as submitted.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Do we have a second? Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I'll entertain a motion for the consideration of the regular meeting minutes of May the 8th, 2017.
I'll make that motion. We accept the minutes of May 8, 2017.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All right, seeing there's none, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We'll go right into commissioners and staff report, starting off with Mr. Duncan.
Mayor and fellow commissioners, just to give you an update on some of the projects that we finalized. The street yard fence, it has been completed and paid in full to Carrone Construction, and they did an excellent job. We're great that they came down and did the job for us. And another one is the judicial complex utilities. They have all been switched over, the deleted sewer lines going across the property and the new water line coming down Love Street. We're in the works, which we will talk about later, of getting Love Street and Washington Street all finalized with new asphalt, new curbing, new guttering.
All right, very good.
That's all that I have to report, sir.
Thanks.
Actually, one more, sorry.
Okay.
The Convenience Center free dump day is gonna be June 3rd, next Saturday.
What all will be taken? Wow.
Just the normal household trash, the same stuff that we take on a daily basis. The one thing that we have done, or that I put out as a public service announcement, we will no longer be taking the big tree stumps or big limbs in excess of 6 inches in diameter. So,
Okay.
but we will still take the yard trimmings, normal leaf cuttings and branches and everything, just nothing bigger than that 6 inch in diameter.
What else will you not take?
We will not be taking batteries, tires, oil, shingles, concrete, no concrete blocks, no bricks or anything like that. Construction material in excess of, they will be, or we won't be taking big construction loads.
Okay. Somebody needs to dispose of tires. I understand there's somebody in Seminole that takes them, is that correct?
I believe there is a company in Seminole and actually in Denver City. And Hobbs Convenience Station will allow, I believe, 4 per day.
Okay, all right, very good. All right, but they have to be off the car, right?
Off the, yeah.
Okay. All right, anything else, Ryan?
No, sir.
Okay. Miss Joanna, anything to report?
Nothing to report, sir.
All right, Miss Anna?
Nothing to report, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanchez?
Well, one thing, I just got back from New York City. I went to West Point. My grandson graduated his first year from the West Point, so we went to that, and then we went to sightsee New York. We really enjoyed ground zero. There's, well, as you all know what happened, 20111. I thought about our chief, both chiefs, because after seeing the police and ambulances and everything in that building, what happened, it makes you cry. But it was great. I recommend you to go if you get a chance. Go. And take plenty of money with you. That's all I have.
What is your grandson's name, Commissioner?
Caleb Marino.
Very proud of Mr. Moreno. He graduated last year from Lovington High School. Very good, thank you. Commissioner Butcher.
I'd just like to give a shout out to the city and the Parks and Recreation Department. I've noticed here lately, our parks have been pretty excellent, clean, cut, no weeds, no trash. I drove by, tried to find a piece of trash. I don't know if the wind blew away or they're just working hard, but hey, it looks very good. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. I just had a question for James. Was there a pump that was broke out there at the park, the irrigation system? Is that what was wrong for a while there, James?
Yes, sir. We had some of the electronics with the board on the pump motor that they were having to troubleshoot and replace.
Is that fixed now?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Thank you. That's all I had. Commissioner Trujillo.
No, good deal. Thank you.
Commissioner Gandy.
Have none.
All right. Jefe Rodriguez.
No, sir.
All right. Chief Lizardo.
I have nothing to report, sir.
James.
Yes, sir. Tomorrow, I guess you could say around the lake at Chaparral Park, it'll be somewhat of a construction zone. We'll have an excavator out there to work on trying to eliminate cattails. So we're almost at the end of our action plan to try to reduce those. Also, remember that Monday is Memorial Day. City offices will be closed. That's all I have.
All right. Appreciate the work on the cattails because there were some citizens that expressed concern over that. So appreciate you taking care of that. Patrick.
Nothing to report.
All right, very good. All right. If there's nothing else to report, we'll go into public comment. Anybody wishes to address the commission may do so at this time. If you'll just identify yourself to the commission and just keep your comments to about 3 minutes, please.
3 minutes. All right.
Thank you.
My name is Paula Van
Just a
Cleve.
second, let me restart my clock now.
Yes, you owe me 2 minutes from last time. First of all, I object strenuously to the comment section before the action section. I mean, before we get a chance to know what y'all are going to act on. First and foremost, I definitely cannot see you doing a 32% rate increase on water. It was supposed to be done at 2% per year. It's not the consumer's fault that the city didn't do that. That's going to put a hardship on a lot of people. You need to think of, I know it needs to go up. There's things we need to pay for, but you need to spread it out. That's almost, I can show you, of course mine's commercial. In 3 months, my water bill has been $4,500. A 32% rate increase is going to be $1,443 every 3 months. That's a lot, and I've got to pass it on to my renters. You got to think about this. How can you hit every household in this town at a 32% rate increase? And why has there not been notices put in the water bills? You had ample opportunity to put those in the water bills. People need to know before you just jump out there and put it on. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Anybody else want to address the commission at this time? All right. Don't see anybody else stepping up to the podium. We'll go into non-action items.
No, you still got 2 minutes.
No, that's all right. I said my piece. Thank you, Scott.
We'll go into the Health and Wellness Center update. James?
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, we actually have David Shaw with Norley Hospital here to make a presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity. I'll keep my comments brief, but I thought it was time to come and give you a quick update on the project that we're doing together. And I have a couple slides here that I'd like to show you just to remind everybody what all is entailed in the wellness project. You can see it'll entail, it's about almost 50,000 square feet. We'll have an aquatic center that'll be used by the school district for competition, a warm therapy pool for the public to utilize and for therapy, women's and men's locker rooms with showers, outdoor patio. There will be some limited childcare that will be available for people during specific times, a rock climbing wall, indoor walking and jogging track, basketball gym that'll be set up for multiple things, volleyball, indoor hockey, different things like that. Fitness center with lots of workout equipment and fitness room for aerobics, yoga, different things like that. And then there's a deck on the second floor for, on good days, people can go outside and do stretching, different things like that on this outer deck. And then we also plan on having a soccer field in a community park as kind of phase 2 of the project. Now, we began the project, we broke ground last fall, and I intentionally put a slowdown on the project because I wanted to do some more value engineering because I was concerned about the cost, hospital districts bearing the capital cost of the project. We were successful in reducing some of the costs for materials and different things like that, and so we did bid out the project in May, and unfortunately, electrical did not bid on it. We did not get a bid on drywall, and so we had to do a second round of bidding, and so those two things have slowed the project down. We have received all the bids on all the divisions of the project, and so we're back up and going again, so we did have a little bit of delay, and I wanted to be sure that everybody was aware of that. So that pushed our opening probably back into the late spring of 2018. We had originally hoped it would be in January. Other than that, the project is going well. Our advisory team, which consists of individuals with the city, the school district, and the community, we're meeting on a regular basis and making a lot of progress on some of the issues related to policies and procedures. And we actually have a policy and procedure manual now that's in place and approved. We've approved our logo that you can see right there. And right now, the advisory committee is working on finalizing the pricing for the facility for memberships going forward. So the next step for us is to begin looking at staffing, hiring the director of the program probably sometime in the fall to help us with getting ready for staffing and putting some of those things in place. So does anybody have any specific questions about the project and kind of where we're at with the project? As far as the funding of it, hospital district has all of that covered. And the role that the city and the school district play is after we open is helping with subsidizing the operations of it. And our committee has been working on making sure that the pricing of the project is such that we can get to a break-even position, hopefully by year 3. I have a couple of, there we go. Just some pictures of what it looks like from the outside. That's from our employee parking lot looking north. It is, as I mentioned, 2-story. And then that's kind of a 3D view. You can see the pool that's on the west side of the facility, the gym at the bottom floor, and on the top floor you can see the walking and jogging track. So it's going to be a really nice facility. I will say this, I went to Quality New Mexico Leadership Summit, which was held in Albuquerque. And we've had a number of hospitals approach us about our partnership that we have with the school system and the city. And so we have a lot of people that are approaching us about how did we put the project together and maybe looking at doing something similar in their rural community. So it's kind of exciting to be kind of a model that other communities are looking at going forward in their own communities. One of the things I did want to mention to everybody tonight, we do have a mill levy election coming up. We're not asking for an increase in our taxes. This is just a renewal of our ongoing mill levy support for the hospital district. That's coming up on June the 6th. Early voting is going on right now through June the 2nd at the courthouse. And I put up there a few statistics for you because we all know the oil and gas industry is down a little bit right now, and you can see how much of an impact that had in 2015. It made up 73% of the receipts for the hospital district. This last year, it made up 53% of the receipts, so it does have a big impact. But this is not an additional tax, just a renewal on the existing tax. And of course, We've always used the mill levy in the last 18 years that I've been here to build our new facilities, recruit new doctors, and increase our services. And of course, it's been very instrumental in making it possible for us to do the Lovington Wellness Facility. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Mr. Shaw, I appreciate you allowing me to be on the planning committee. Would you kind of elaborate on the different discounts that you're going to offer to the citizens of Lovington?
Sure. So one of the things that was really important to us, we wanted to be very competitive on the pricing for the memberships. And so there are similar facilities to what we're building in Lubbock, Texas, and the membership fee there is $75 a month. Ours is going to be significantly less than that. We haven't come up with a specific number yet. But in addition to that, we are offering 25% discount to our senior citizens, and that's 60 years old or older, so that's a significant discount. We also have a family discount, so whatever discount level you qualify for, the rest of your family, your spouse, teenagers that are under 19 and over 16 would be free. The spouse would be a 25% discount of the husband's rate. So that's a pretty significant discount. If you don't qualify for a corporate rate, which would be about 20%, or if you don't qualify for the senior rate and you want to just do a year-long membership, it's a 15% discount over and above that. And of course, family members have additional discounts. So we're trying to make it very affordable for the community, but at the same time pricing it so that it doesn't become a financial burden for the school district or the city, and we at least break even, because we're not really doing this project to try to make money. We're doing this project to provide another avenue for quality of life in Lovington and help promote health and wellness for our community.
Very good. And we will be open before the Hobbs facility, is that correct?
I'm not going to make that prediction tonight.
Okay.
Too many unknowns.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Shaw?
It's a nice time, Mr. Shaw.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Dave.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you. All right, we'll go into the next non-action item, Planning and Zoning Commission, discussion of RV parks. James?
Mayor, Commissioners, actually Randy Pettigrew, who's currently the Vice Chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission, would like to address the Commission.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you for having me here tonight. The impetus for this discussion is to bring to light probably items that you're completely aware of, but some of the things that we're dealing with from not only from a planning and zoning side, and therefore what your staff is having to deal with from a zoning issue. As you're aware, back in 2014, we changed an ordinance for the mobile home and RV parks. And in those changes, we gave till January 1st, 2020 for the mobile home and RV parks to come into compliance with that. Trying to give them 3 or 4 years to get everything done. Every year the zoning team goes out and looks at compliance. And with those, sit down with the RV park owners, the mobile home park owners, what the issues are, where they're non-compliant, where they're compliant at, and then there's a list generated. Well, we're getting to the stage where we're getting closer and closer to 2020, and so we're starting to see more and more variances come in front of the P&Z board. And we're holding very steady to the new ordinance with that. So residents are having to take down carports or take down sheds that aren't 15 feet away or don't comply in some form or fashion to the ordinance. And this year, the zoning team has gone out and started looking at issues within the city as well. And it's not something that they don't do every year, but carports and sheds and things like that are coming up in Zone A and Zone B. We've had these discussions before. But at the end of the day, we're going to start seeing a lot, and well, we've got 20 issues with Zone A requirements on carports right now. And that's just from the first go out and look at. And we're going to have the same issues throughout the entire town as we have in the mobile home and the RV parks. And before we start getting into the issues on, are we going to cite? Or, you know, how is this going to be dealt with from a compliance standpoint? I really felt like it was important for us to come in front of you as you're planning. You guys put us in the hot seats up here to go through and meet the intent of the law. Your ordinances are a law, and so if there's a 15-foot setback, or you're in Zone B, and you know your carport has to meet a certain requirement. If you're in Zone A, it has to meet a different requirement. It depends on that. For the ones that aren't, that are post 1971, which is going to be really hard to prove, but y'all are going to start getting a lot of kickback from your residents, from the people that put you into office. And we're at that point right now where, to me, it's simple: no variance. This is the rule, no variance. Okay? It's not a health issue, it's not a safety issue. You know, what are the concerns that, I think we have 3 on our variance request. What are they, James? Health, safety, and
No, it's really helpful.
just, is it just health and safety? So if it isn't impacted significantly on one of those 2, then we shouldn't be writing a variance to it. With that being said, we're going to have at least 20 just from Zone A from the first go through. Are we going to, as a commission, what, I guess, a formal action plan, do we want to look hard at the ordinance and sit there and say, okay, we're going to give on these things, or are we going to hold to that? And if we are, a resolution that says, no, this is where we're going to stand. We're going to make sure that the carports and the sheds, the buildings are in compliance. We're doing that in the RV parks right now. It's fixing to hit. Listen to me, redneck. It's about to hit with respect to Zone A and Zone B compliance, and Zone C compliance as well. And so we had a working session on the P&Z side, and it was decided that we really needed to come in front of the commission and what's your will? What's the will with respect to the city on how we approach this? Obviously, writing 20 variances to an ordinance says that probably the ordinance needs to change, or stay hard and strong with respect to that. But the consistency that we have on the mobile home and the RV park, and that we're holding to, we're about to hit on the other side. And I felt like it would be a whole lot easier to talk about it now than to start dealing with angry residents. And we went through that when we went through the 2014 ordinance. You know, we made decisions based on what we thought was the best thing for the city. Is it time to revisit whether or not that's the right thing to do? But to be honest, we have to be consistent. It doesn't matter if you're in a mobile home and RV park, or if you're in a residential or Zone A, Zone B, it doesn't matter. It just needs to be consistent. So with that, I mean, I've got a whole bunch of notes and where everything's at, but the impetus for me being up here tonight is to ask you for direction. We don't have to have it tonight. That's clearly not it, but you know, do we need to look at changing the ordinance? Do we need to look at a resolution that says, no, we're going to hold fast? You know, what's your will? What's the will of the commission? With that, I'll take any questions, yeah.
I got a quick question, Randy. You spoke about taking a hard line regarding the ordinance that is, as it is present now. When you say that, are you speaking for the board, or are you speaking for yourself?
No. I'm speaking as this is the law. Somebody comes to us and says, you know, has a carport in a mobile home or in a Zone A area that is non-compliant with the ordinance. Sitting there and saying, no, we're not going to give you a variance for that. You need to bring it to code. That's what I mean. There is no variance. This is the rule. This is the law. How do you want to act on that? This isn't a personal deal for me. I'm on the board from an appointment standpoint. Hopefully I add some engineering value to that. But no, not a hard line from that standpoint. It's just how consistent are we going to be?
I'm just asking, is this coming from the planning and zoning board is what?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Is that
and we're at the
consensus?
point where we're getting variance requests on the mobile home and the RV park for an ordinance that's been in place since 2014 and has to be complete by 2020. The same actions are happening with each review of a Zone A or a Zone B area in town. And we're starting to get those variance requests in because the carport wasn't permitted, or it's not attached if it's in a Zone A, or it's metal if it's in a Zone A, or it's not this, or it's not that, whatever it is.
All right, I'll open the floor for discussion.
I thought really, when we talked about that back in 2014, we just come aboard. I thought a lot of those were, we decided to grandfather some of those in before, what it was, 71 or whatever the date was on it.
Anything prior to the original ordinance, pardon me, but anything prior to the original ordinance of 71 was there's altering factors that you can have. If you don't go in and you don't change and you don't have to do this adjustment from a structural standpoint, or you don't have to do this, then it can stay. But if you alter it, then you can go into nonconformance.
So that's really the big concern is people are wanting to alter them, make them bigger or smaller?
No, most of these weren't built in pre-1971. They're all post-1971, which are non-compliant.
Okay, anything.
Right.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
So planning and zoning, do they see a different, let me see, how do I say that? Do they have an opinion as far as what they would like to see as far as a variance, or are they good with what we have in place already? Did that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So, with respect to the ordinance, do we have a problem with the ordinance? No. From an overall, now, I'm not going to speak for everybody on the board, but for the most part, we try to stay compliant with the ordinances that we have. We look at the rules that are set in front of us with respect to, is it a health issue? Is it a safety issue? What are the recommendations from staff? How is this going to affect decisions that impact us 3 years from now? All of those things. We're trying to stay compliant, but we're going to get to the point where we reject enough variances that it's going to come, y'all are going to get it. And if it's going to continue to happen that way, then one, do we change the ordinance, or two, do we set a resolution in place that says, no, we're going to hold steadfast? It gives your staff direction and it gives us direction from a P&Z board on how the city wants to operate.
So just a question, again, if we change the ordinance instead of a post-71, 1971, if you change it to a 2014, what would that help you with? Would that alleviate anything, or would that make the situation worse? I know what the crowd's saying behind you. I know how I feel. I'm just asking because, you know, like I said, there's this questionable period of time that we've went over, you know, and now, but we've had quite a few extremely large ones built in the last 3 years that were a weekend, different things like that. How does that look as being inconsistent or consistent with us?
Well, those large ones that were built without a permit would be given the same letter that the ones in the mobile home and RV parks are, that it needs to be removed or brought to code. And like I said, the mobile home and RV park guys are moving at this. It may not appear like they're moving fast, but they are moving and they are correcting the items that make them compliant with the ordinance. They are moving in that direction. So for the part about changing the ordinance to 2014, I'm going to leave that up to legal to tell you what the.
Well, I just didn't know if that would, you know, if they can prove, if it was there before 2014, you know, fine, you know, but if it's been built within the last, you know, 3 years, then fine, it has to be brought up to code. There's just no way around it. You know,
Well,
'cause
Google
there's-
Earth didn't exist in 71, so 14 would help from that standpoint.
Right.
But that would probably be, Patrick, I don't know if you want to take the ball on
Well,
that.
I think what Randy's saying is that someone's going to be catching some heat relatively soon. And it's either going to be on the issue of planning and zoning not granting variances and people being cited for carports that don't comply, or council coming back and saying, well, we wrote this ordinance, but we're going to soften it considerably. And so the heat ultimately is going to stop right up there.
Mhm.
And so I think what he's saying is you need to start thinking down the road a little bit about how you want to approach these. And so I'd go back and take a look at the purpose and some of the minutes from the meetings about why we made changes to the ordinance, what was important about it, what staff was saying, not just from a safety standpoint, but from some other issues. Because you remember zoning, gives you a little bit of flexibility as far as how you can control certain types of uses. So that would be important to go back and take a look at to see. But I think, the ultimate question is, do you want to stand by that and say we meant what we said and we gave people plenty of time to get in compliance? Or are we going to come back to, a question about economic issues or some other things and say, well, we're not able to do this, and so we'll give you a pass. And then where does that pass stop? Does it stop just on economic? Does it stop on other issues? So it's really, it could get sticky either way.
I think that you can say something.
Yeah. No, I think, when we discussed this last time, we talked about amnesty or grandfather clause portion of it. And we never set a date on that. And in this 1971, I guess, that was the date we ended up, I guess, setting on that. The only thing I have a problem with, if we stick to our guns on it, do we even have the resources to back it up and to tag everybody and then follow up and then follow up and then follow up? Being that we have so much other codes to enforce as well, I think we got a staff of 2, that's all we got. And every time we add another code or another ordinance, I'm like thinking, heck, we don't even have the staff to do it. And on this, are we gonna be strict, but is it gonna affect our resources, on how we can follow up? Because I don't want us to be hard on one citizen and being lenient on the other, because I could see that happening right away. And it's not because the ladies are gonna treat it that way, it's because they're only allocated so much time, or not so much allocated, only have limited amount of time 1 week to follow up, and they're probably following up on 100 different things. And then to grow that is that then you start getting David involved, or chief of police involved to see, because they're going to have some sort of ticket warnings, and then all of a sudden they're going to get involved. So all of a sudden this pictures are just going to get bigger and bigger. I know when we first addressed this, I wanted that grandfather clause, and I kept calling it amnesty, and everybody kept making fun of me because we were talking about immigration at the time, or the government was. So I kept saying amnesty. So but I would like to see something like, for instance, Commissioner Gandy said, something a little bit closer. But the bad part, to prove that they built that on that date is tough too. So I think we just need to come back and relook at it, honestly, because I don't want to say I'm sticking to my guns and then, or also just leave an open ticket for just citations to be given out, like you're referring to, just complete variance to where there's no set standards, just there it is, and you're going to comply, and we're going to back you up on the compliance. Me as a commissioner, I'd have to review it, because I know I have probably the majority of the carports are in my district, most likely, probably about 50% of them maybe. But
You have one, don't you?
yeah, I got one, but it's pretty far in. But just to, that would be my biggest concern, is not having the resources to, and then plus, I don't want somebody put money into a cost them 5, 10 grand, and all of a sudden they have to tear it down and move it back. I think we're gonna run into some legal issues. Patrick's gonna get involved, and all of a sudden, you know, the cost can go up on this. I think we're gonna have to look at a bigger picture on it
So
and maybe
the-
restudy it.
So the ordinance goes back to 71 because that's when the original ordinance that we're dealing with was written. Okay, so that's one of the dates. 2014 for the mobile home and the RV was trying to bring things to code, bring things consistent with health and safety requirements, you know, keeping buildings away and following some national guidelines and some other guidelines that were out there. So that was the impetus for why that happened at that point in time. You know, in theory, well, not in theory, by the rules that we have written, everybody that lives inside the city of Lovington that wants to add something has to get a permit for it and has to go through a process to prove that, you know, if depending on the dollar amount and what's being constructed, if they've got a contractor that's licensed to do that work, all those different pieces, parts and pieces that help bring it into compliance. So many of the pieces that we're going to be talking about potentially over the next several months are going to be things that weren't permitted, weren't built to the ordinance that exists right now, or at the time that it was built. And yeah, you know, it may be a $10,000, $15,000 structure. Didn't make it legal right now. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Commissioner.
So they're not getting permits?
Not in every case.
Well, they need to get one if they don't have one. I think that's why we got a building inspector.
Nobody on this side of the table is arguing that point. That does not change the conditions that exist.
Yeah, I can totally understand new construction being firm home. It's just figuring out the old construction. That would be my concern.
But I can see his point. On the old construction, most of it is not engineered or meets any standard, current standard, or even a standard at that time. You know, I mean, you got to give it to the spirit of the people here. We sometimes are able to do things that probably aren't engineered or questionable to get by. You know, and they do good work and it's quality work, but it doesn't meet a standard, unfortunately. You know, we won't hold so much snow, or we won't handle a certain side wind, a side load of wind, or different things like that, and that causes a hazard for others in that neighborhood. You know, and you take the distance and the time of different things and deterioration. You know, some of these are a hazard.
So at the end of the day, the reason for this is because we're dealing with mobile home and RV parks, and we have been. And like I said, they're moving forward with that, and they're working with with code enforcement. Those same things are happening on the residential side as well, and those same variance requests are going to come through, and would, by typical situations, be rejected. The variance would be rejected because it's not a health issue, it's not a safety issue, something like that. Now, at any given time, at any given time, you know, the P&Z staff, the commission that you guys put out there that may vote one way or another based on previous decisions that we've made, or based on legal counsel, based on what code enforcement has suggested to us, what city staff has suggested to us. But for the most part, we're going to get to a point where it's going to get cited, where there could be structures that get pulled down and different things. We want to prepare for what could happen. Yes, sir.
Commissioner.
Okay, there is a code.
Mm-hmm. There's an ordinance.
There's a code for when you build.
Mm-hmm. We have an ordinance for how things have to be built, where they're located at, setbacks, all those different rules. If it's attached, non-attached, whatever.
But if people build, if they don't build according to code, then they should not be building. Because that, like you say, it could endanger even themselves or somebody. But there is a code that you have to follow. And if you don't follow it, well, you're not obeying the law. I've got a contractor's license. building contractor license since 1976. So I know there's a code that for everything you have to do, you have to do it right, and that's why we got the inspector. You can do a lot of things behind the inspector's back, but that wouldn't be right. If you get caught, I think they should be tear down what you put up because you did it on the slide.
So we're dealing with two different types of codes here. One, obviously the building code, and two, the ordinances that exist as the rules of government for you guys. How we're going to deal with things. And so with respect to that, there's how you build it, and then there's where you put it and how you attach it to your home or your residence. And those are the issues. It's compliance with the majority of these, and these are visuals of these 20 that just on Zone A are visual non-compliance issues to the current ordinance that exists. I'm not talking about whether or not they got it permitted from the city, not talking about whether or not they got it permitted from the state, whether it was inspected or anything. These are just visual non-conformance issues.
Here's my take on it, Randy, and I appreciate you coming to us and giving us a heads up, because obviously it's an issue that we're gonna meet head on pretty soon. But I'd be real cautious in giving you any direction right now. Reason being is that I think we need some more information, particularly what those variances are, the requests are, and what their reasoning is, behind that. Is it because they're just non-compliant, they don't want to be compliant, or do they have a special need, a special request, or something that's making them or can't comply with that specific ordinance? That's my question, and I think this is an important enough topic that it warrants maybe some more discussion between the commission and yourselves and the citizens. So I'd be interested in maybe having even a work session down the road, because I think it's important that we get on the same sheet of music here, maybe have a common ground, because I'm interested in hearing what the citizens have to say as well.
And I think that's completely fair. That's the reason why this is a non-action item. Is I don't think this is something that you can take lightly, and it is something that needs to be mulled over and has to be looked at and discussed. But they're coming they're going through staff. They're getting the letters that say they're not in conformance. They're coming in to fill out the paperwork for variances. And if we get to a point where we write too many variances, then we need to look at the ordinance.
Exactly.
And so that's where we're at right now.
James, you had something?
Yes, Mayor, Commissioners, actually, what started this whole dialogue was we did have an RV park operator who came in to request some variances as far as constructing carports in their park. And one thing I do have to say is that the RV park owners, they are working to get things in compliance.
That's it.
But they did ask a very pertinent question, just like anybody else who starts erecting a carport. We notice it, we say, hey, you have to do a permit. Well, my neighbor has one. Did they go through this? So we're going to be dealing with a lot of that, and also as far as setbacks. So just like Mr. Pettigrew had said, that if we start receiving a bunch of variance requests that are almost identical in nature to each other, that lets me know that, well, the citizens want a certain thing, we need to look at this and change the code. So we just wanted to warn you that if we are to start enforcing this, you're going to start receiving a lot of those type of complaints. But we just wanted to prep you. I know we were having discussions prior to this meeting that, yes, we don't expect any action or direction at this point. This is just, I guess, the introduction to this issue that does warrant a lot further examination. And it's not just, honestly, I would feel comfortable saying, it's not really the RV parks. It's actually a citywide issue, especially in Zone A, that we do need to address.
I agree. All right. Thank you, Randy. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go into action items. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion we consider ordinance 551, authorization, the execution of an intergovernmental agreement and a project participation agreement accepting New Mexico economic development funds for the Dryland Brewery project.
Second.
We have a second. James.
Mayor and Commissioners, ordinance 551 has been advertised as required. What this will do is the New Mexico Economic Development Department is providing $100,000 in funding for the Drylands Brewing Company project. Our role in this is simply acting as the fiscal agent for these funds. We will have to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the city and the state of New Mexico that allows for the transfer of that funding to the city, and then a project participation agreement between the city and Drylands to allow us to provide them those funds. This doesn't cost the city anything, and we would stand for your approval.
Any questions, comments from the commission? Yes, sir.
If I may, Mayor and Commissioners, we do have Mr. Torres and Dr. Arreola present if you should have any questions.
All right. Would you like to address the board at this time? Either one of you?
Yes.
Sorry, folks.
How you doing, Mayor and Commissioners? So last Friday, we invited the city of Lovington, the commission, the different boards around town to visit the job site. Kind of wanted to give everybody a little bit of progress of where we're at. Up to today, we're probably about 93% completed. Hoping to have a CO by the end of the week. So we will be in production next week, early next week. So that's kind of where we're standing right now. Does anybody have any questions or anything?
Define production.
We will be producing beer. We'll start brewing beer, our first batch of beer. So.
Next week, you said?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good, sir. All right, very good. Okay, any other questions?
Not yet.
Last question, then. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? All right, without further discussion, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I'll entertain another motion.
Make a motion to consider resolution 2017-47, amendment to fund balance reserve policy.
Second.
Who's giving the second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. All right, James.
Mayor and Commissioners, as part of the budget, we do need to amend our fund balance reserve. What we are recommending is adjusting our general fund minimum reserve to 20%. Of course, we're only required to keep 112 or 8.3%. Of course, the only other change would be in our enterprise funds, which we would do a minimum of 8%.
All right. Any questions?
No, James, last time we discussed this, we're going to keep it at 27%.
Based on our, Mayor Commissioners, based on our revenues, we had granted the budget as submitted right now. I believe it had a 26% reserve. We would definitely not want to go below what we had budgeted. However, with the revenues fluctuating, we did have an increase in GRT this particular month. But that would eliminate the need to keep coming back to make those adjustments. So this would. Staff feels comfortable with a minimum of 20%. However, we do want to keep it at what we budgeted.
Our goal is to maintain 26%, but
Yes,
just
sir.
in case it falls below that, we have this in place.
Correct.
Can you keep us updated if we were to pass this evening? I'd like to at least keep a monthly
Yes, sir.
update on this to find out where we stand. Because mentioned before in our last meeting, I was really cautious of doing what we projected for next year, and I sure in the heck, to me, too bad I already lost all my hair. I'd probably be losing some more hair off this, but yeah, that's what I would appreciate. Thank you, Jim.
So according to a recent story in the newspaper, the Hobby Sun, I believe, it was reported that we're down the fiscal year from last year to this year about 27.5% in GRT. Is that correct, James?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, very good. Questions about the commission?
Well, at that, I was just gonna say, at that 20%, how long can the city sustain, with the 20%, what are we looking at for?
Without reducing any expenditures, you'd be looking at about 2.5 months.
When we would actually have to think about layoffs?
Yes, sir.
Whatever. That's not a good thing.
No, of course not. All right, so your recommendation is that we approve the fund balance reserve adjustment?
Yes, sir.
James, is that correct? All right.
And like I said, once again, monthly, please. Because I'd rather make the changes before, if it gets close to 20, I guarantee we'll make some changes.
Yes, sir.
Thank
All
you.
right. Any other questions? Comments?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I'll entertain the next motion.
I would make a motion we consider resolution 217-48 approving 2017-2018 interim budget.
Second.
We have a second. James.
Mayor and Commissioners, the budget that we have presented to the commission, of course, these are our beginning balances and of course our reserves and cash balances at the end of the year. So this is the interim budget. We have to submit this to DFA no later than the 31st of this month, so I believe it's next Wednesday or Thursday. We would submit this and then we would have the opportunity to make any other adjustments that we would need before the end of July was when we have to submit our final budget adoption to DFA.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
So with the special session about to take place, do you foresee any action there that could affect our budget?
The only, Mayor Commissioners, the only thing that I would foresee is if they were to make any changes to the hold harmless distribution. As you're aware, 2 years ago, they were doing a gradual phase out. That would be the most significant thing, is if they decided to reinstate the food and medical tax and totally remove that hold harmless provision. Then we would actually be dealing with real, instead of estimates, we would actually be dealing with real dollars.
And the governor is considering re-implementing that food tax, is that correct?
According to what I've read, that is one of the items for consideration.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Comments from the board? Anything else, James, regarding that?
No, no, sir.
Okay. All right. Without further discussion, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I'll entertain the next motion.
Make a motion, we consider resolution 2017-49, advertisement of ordinance 552, Sunrise Edition Phase 2 Housing Incentive.
Do we have a second? All right, we have a second by Commissioner Butcher. James?
Mayor and Commissioners, we've received a recommendation from the due diligence and full board of the Lovington EDC to provide funding for the infrastructure development for 12 additional homes in the Sunrise subdivision. This does come from the restricted funds of the economic development, or what they call local option gross receipts tax. We would provide funding for $6,000, a maximum of $6,000 per completed home for off-site infrastructure, water, sewers, sidewalks, curb, gutter. They would have 1 year to complete, and we are still under the partnership with the county where 50% of this would be reimbursed to the city from the county upon completion.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Are they still doing this, that you have to do more than one before you can get those funds?
Yes, sir. It's right now
You do
it's
just one.
correct. You cannot do just one. You have to. The way we have the program set up is it is a minimum of 4.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
All right. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, I'll entertain the next motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to consider resolution 2017-50, advertisement of ordinance 553, amendment to Lovington Municipal Code, Title 13, Chapter 13.04, Water Service System, Chapter 13.8, Sewer Service System, and Chapter 13.12, Rates, Billing, and Collection.
We have a second. All right, James.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is simply approval to advertise a proposed ordinance. The final adoption of the ordinance wouldn't take place until June 26th. So one of the things to address Ms. Van Cleve's question is, we would, pending tonight, we will be sending out notice of the proposed changes. We can't put the entire ordinance in there because it's, I believe it's a 9 or 10 page document. However, this will be available either here, through the internet, so that the public can actually read it. But I want to go through a summary of the proposed changes. Not only does this address any rate increases, but it's also including language to help clean things up, also adopting policy that's been in place since 2013. So we've identified who's responsible for water and sewer line extensions. This also ensures that any connection to the waterworks or the sewer of the cities complies with state plumbing code. We also have the disposition of funds. Right now, the code actually says that water and sewer revenue goes into the water and sewer fund. We call this our utilities fund. However, it does address what the fees for garbage collections, which fund it goes into by identifying the solid waste fund. It also defines our use, which use is actually identified. We have 4 categories as far as our water service, which residential is for single-family residents. You then have your commercial, is that anything other than a single-family residence, with the exception of your industrial and your industrial 2 users. Industrial is used in manufacturing or production at the site of their business. And back in 2000, I believe it was 2014, we implemented the industrial rate 2. And this is for those customers who either fill up at their location and use the water off-site of their business premises. So there is a higher rate associated with that. So if we did look at our deposit schedule, with the deposits, of course, we do have a couple of different categories, which residential, if it's owner occupied by the time you look at all of the garbage deposit, we cover essentially one water sewer and garbage, it will be a total of $55. If it's a rental property with a waiver, which the waiver by state laws and the landlord comes in and signs a waiver that particular rental property, they're not responsible for any remaining bill. But if they have a waiver signed for that particular property, what this means is that it rents out to the landlord is actually responsible for payment of that full service store. If they have a waiver, we do charge higher deposit to cover this, and usually the same. Our utility has done a good job as far as making sure that you don't have a lot of outstanding balances. But this would essentially cover at least 3 months of minimum bill for a single-family residence. We then have a commercial deposit, and then if you have a commercial property, you're often running that same problem where if you're renting out a commercial property, you can leave that bill behind. So we want to make sure that there's a deposit there that's sufficient to cover those rental properties as well. Rate reductions, one of the things after our discussions that we've had since the work session and subsequent meetings was for residential customers, if you are 65 years of age or older, it will be a 10% rate reduction. You have to physically reside at the address. It's limited to 1 person per household, and you have to just provide proof of age. And then, of course, if you're on Social Security benefits, such as or for disability, we would require that every 6 months that be updated, because this could actually pertain to somebody who may be on a temporary disability. We would provide a 10% rate reduction as well. You cannot get a combination, so you cannot be a senior citizen and also be receiving disability benefits and get a 20%. The maximum is only a 10% per household, and it's limited to those residential accounts. Also rental property cleanup. One of the things that, it's been a past practice, but we'll have a landlord who has had a tenant move out and they want to clean up their property and get it ready for either to show or to have another renter come in. So we, per our existing ordinance, all water is supposed to be metered. So what we're recommending in this ordinance is that a $10 deposit be put down. The meter will be turned on for 5 days, and you'll actually be charged 89 cents for every 100 gallons of use. So if you don't exceed the $10 deposit, you actually get a refund. However, if you do exceed that, you'll have to pay the balance in full. And we would make sure that any balance does not transfer to another rental property. You have to set this up per rental property whenever you go and clean up. Meter replacement, we've had a couple of instances where somebody has requested that we look at the meters. They don't think it's accurate. What we've been doing, the practice has been, is that we'll go ahead and replace this meter. We've looked at several other municipalities as far as what they've adopted by code, is that if somebody questions their meter, we'll offer to replace that meter. However, if they're not satisfied with that, or if they're not satisfied with the new meter, we will actually pull the meter and have it sent off for independent testing. If the meter is more than 5% high, meaning that our metering was incorrect, we'll adjust the bill accordingly. However, if it's correct, it's actually a $50 charge plus the actual cost of that meter replacement. With the new radio read meters, the likelihood of an inaccurate reading is very, very low because of the technology it uses. We also have turning water on and off. The existing code actually says that anytime we turn the water on or off, there's a $50 charge at our discretion. Personally, we removed that, and it's only in the event that, unless it's an emergency, after hours you'll be charged. So if you have somebody who at 2 o'clock in the morning just decides to do some handyman work and requests that the water's turned off, they would be charged a $50 fee. Or you can look at it on the flip side. If you get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to get a drink of water and your faucet explodes, we're not going to charge you. So this will be at the discretion of the utilities department at this. Water leaks. We've had customers who have identified water leaks and they've had those repaired, and it's been in our policy to do this, but we want to go ahead and implement this in our code. But if a customer identifies a water leak and they report it to us within the current billing cycle, they bring us in proof that the repair has been made, whether it's materials bill, they had a plumber come out and fix that leak. We will adjust that bill by using the last 6 months average. Okay. So that way they're not getting burdened with that excessive because of a leak. But they do have to provide that proof that they fixed it.
I had a leak in my pool and it filled it up.
That is a good point. All right. Delinquent rents, of course, right now your bills are due by the 26th day of each month. And we're just clarifying this language in the city code. But should the total due is not received by the 26th of each month, it is subject to disconnection. There will be a $50 penalty added to the bill. We have to receive that payment during normal business hours. One of the things that we are going to do, we do have a night drop box, and we're going to make sure that we clearly indicate the signage that whenever, that is only checked once per day at 7:30 in the morning. So any payments received through that night drop won't be credited to the account until the next business day, similar to what some other utility companies and banks do. Hopefully we're going to resolve this once our new system goes online. We'll have the ability to take online payments. But there will be these, it's actually a penalty that's added to it. It's currently in there. It just clarifies exactly what the penalty is.
James, let me interrupt you there. Any idea when that will take place, the online payment system?
Once we have Tyler and Encode up and running, we've also got to have the links set up on our website.
So not anytime soon then?
I'm hoping soon. Remaining optimistic, sir.
Very good. Thank you.
Payment extensions, one of the things we did back in 2013 was to help folks out. We did adopt this by policy, but we do allow 2 30-day extensions to pay your bill in full per calendar year. This is just adopting this policy that they have to make that payment extension request by the 25th of each month, the day before the bill is actually due. They'll be given 30 days to pay it in full. There is a 5% late fee added, but there's also that $50 penalty as well. So we encourage people to try to pay their bills on time because they're given the 30-day extension, but they have to pay the total bill, which is the late bill plus whatever they've incurred that existing month. So one of the things, this is actually what, given the direction from our discussion at the last commission meeting, we did incorporate that rate increase into this proposed ordinance as far as what the rates are, water rates. One of the things that we did incorporate in there was a 2%, instead of relying strictly on the Consumer Price Index, which if you recall during our previous discussions, it would have been about a 52% increase had we done a rate adjustment based on the CPI since 2007. But this does include the 32%, and then a 2% increase, which can be adjusted by commission or rescinded each year. We just do it 60 days in advance of July 1st to coincide with our budget planning and budget adoption, since revenues are an important component. We also, I'm sorry, apologize. Sensitive. Sewer rates reflect the same increase. They're industrial users. It's actually a formula that is utilized, and the full formula you can see in the draft ordinance. It does reflect the same level of increase. And then, of course, our wow, this thing's really sensitive. Garbage rates, the 15%, and of course, a 2% increase by commission. So we would be definitely mailing this out. We'll be publishing this on our website as well. Getting ample time, we'll have a meeting in between now and final adoption on June 26th for public comment, and of course public comment on June 26th as well. The ordinance, if adopted, would go into effect July 1st.
So this is strictly advertisement of that?
Yes, sir. There's still time for public comment.
Okay, any questions? Other questions? All right. If there's no questions, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I'll entertain the next motion.
Make a motion to consider resolution 2017-51, approval of memorandum of agreement between city and county for improvements and reconstruction of a portion of Love Street and Washington Avenue.
Second.
We have a second. James.
Mayor and Commissioners, as discussed at the previous meeting, we're entering into a memorandum of agreement with Lee County. Now, I would like to mention, this is for work that we had already planned on conducting. We are not taking on 100% of the responsibility of the reconstruction. We were just approached by Lee County to where we could hopefully save and cut down on costs if we combine forces. So what this MOA identifies is who is responsible for payment of what. The city will act as the fiscal agent. We will do all of the advertisement. We will cut the check to the contractor for the full amount. However, the county, when we provide proof that we have made those payments, the county will actually reimburse us as well. So what we're looking at doing is replacing, the total project is replacing all of the asphalt from the intersection of Love and Washington all the way up to Eddy, replacing the curb and gutter, especially on the north side. The replacement on the south side is actually part of the Judicial Complex project. We would be replacing all of the asphalt on Love Street, as well as curb and gutter improvements that the county is going to, part of their responsibility is along the existing courthouse. We are looking also at replacing the lights to match the newer lighting that we have installed on Central, and the placement of bollards, and also the potential for the raised walkway. Those are the items that the county is going to be paying for. So originally, we were looking at, the city was going to be replacing just all of the asphalt on Washington from our utilities reroute, and then about 50% of the asphalt on Love Street. The county did approve this at their last county commission meeting. We are just waiting on a couple of things from their electrical engineers before we can actually put the project out to bid, but we want to get started on this as soon as possible.
Are they on schedule as far as their end is concerned with construction, do you know, James?
Mayor Commissioner, as far as I know, they are on schedule right now.
All right. Any questions about the commission? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll entertain the next motion, please.
Make a motion to consider resolution 217-52 approving Walker funding for GIS project.
Do we have a second? All right. Commissioner Gandy with a second. James?
Mayor and Commissioners, one of the things that we've incorporated, or actually the Lovington EDC has incorporated into their website, is geographical information systems, and it's really the wave of the future. And when we have prospective businesses looking at Lovington, or if we have businesses that are looking for expansion of their current operations, they rely on a lot of data. And what this project does is it actually is a link through the city's, or through the EDC's website that allows for anybody to have access to this information. This particular example, it's called a heat map. And I just did a quick search of, okay, individuals who are 49 or older, where are the greatest concentrations, just based on different data sets from different websites that are available out there. It just consolidates it. We're looking at this as a project, economic development project. Costs $5,000 per year out of the economic development funds, and it would be for 3 years. And we're seeking commission approval for this project.
The funds will be obtained from LEDA, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, any questions? Commissioner Gandy, you look like you might have a question.
Nah, I'm just thinking about it.
Okay, all right. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll entertain the next motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion for consider resolution 2017-53, approval of the LOG RT funding for Main Street Utility Reconstruction Project.
Second.
Commissioner Butcher with the second. James?
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, New Mexico DOT is currently in the design phase for reconstruction of Main Street from the area of the Chiefs plant all the way up to the intersection of Commercial and Main on the north side of town, just past the hospital. Part of this, of course, we do have a water main that starts at Avenue A and Main Street and goes all the way up to Polk. And what we want to avoid is potential problems and leaks. It would be bad should we have a leak and have to go in there and disturb brand new street and asphalt. So what we're looking at as far as an estimate is partnering up, I guess you would say, with NMDOT, that whenever they are in the construction phase of this project and they have the road torn up, we can actually replace that water main all the way down Main Street. That way it reduces the likelihood of needing repairs in the future. Estimated project cost is $200,000. We did look at this from an economic development standpoint, because we can actually prep this for future development, business development along Main Street. The Economic Development Corporation says this is a great project. This is helping develop that infrastructure. They are recommending that we provide full funding through LEDA as well. So we're seeking your approval. As far as we know right now, construction, I guess, was slated hopefully to begin in spring of 2018.
All right, thank you, James. Any discussion or questions from the commission?
I think it's a great idea.
All right. Yes, sir, Commissioner Sanchez.
How big is that line, that main?
Actually, there's two separate lines in there. There's a 12-inch main line and a 16-inch main line. 16 hugs the east side of Main Street, and the 12-inch actually, it kind of separates from Washington down to Jefferson, and then it kind of takes over a couple different steps, but there's the two different lines in there. There's a 12-inch AC and a 16-inch AC line.
You know how old these lines are?
Way before my time, sir.
All right, any other questions? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I'll entertain the next motion, please.
Make a motion, we consider resolution 2017-54, approval of agreement between city and the North Metro, non-metro area agency of aging. Excuse me.
Well, second, all right. James.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is actually an annual agreement that we have. This is to help provide funding to the Senior Citizen Center for home delivered meals, congregate meals, and transportation.
Very good. Is the amount in line with what we had in the previous years, as far as you know, James?
Actually, they increased it, sir.
Okay.
We were looking at an initial reduction. It was about a $20,000 reduction, but then we wound up getting a $24,000 increase. Now, how this funding works, of course, is based on your deliverables. So it's so many dollars for each meal. So we have to meet those units of service, and then they'll transfer the funding to us. But Norma believes that we will definitely meet those units of service and receive the full amount of funding.
And that's never been an issue, meeting those needs?
No,
or
Mayor.
units of service?
No, sir.
Okay, very good. All right, any other questions? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I'll entertain the next motion, please.
I'll make a motion that we consider accounts payable.
Second.
We have a second. Where is Gary tonight, by the way?
Gary is actually attending the Government Finance Officers Association conference. So he's working, actually.
Okay, all right, very good. James, then, fill us in, please.
Yes, sir. As you can see, we've submitted a total of $254,000 in accounts payable. So I would hopefully be able to answer any questions you may have. I know Dana Kepner, the $74,000, that was part of our water meter project, which of course this is a reimbursable item through our grant. I'm pleased to say that 2 of our water meter grants that we received, we've actually submitted the final report. So now we're just down to 1 final water meter grant as well. The Stanley Convergence Security, the $19,000, that's actually what it cost for us to repair the drive-through window, a brand new system.
Really? So it's up and running now?
Yes, sir, it's working. We haven't had any issues. Another WDG Architects, that's actually part of the fire station design project. That is a reimbursable expense through the state. And then Extra Light Manufacturing, that is the contractor who's doing the installations of the water meters.
Okay. How's that coming along, by the way, James?
It's actually doing pleasantly well. We're waiting on some MXUs to come in. It's actually the radio portion of it. They're hopefully coming in at the end of this week, and that will bring them back up to where they can bring some extra crews in to just push forward on it. I believe we're probably about, I'd say 60% complete, 65% complete with, we're actually starting, or they are starting in book 14, and book 15 through 19, we're estimating probably about 600 to 700 meters left to finish out. But they're progressing strong, everything is going good.
One thing I might add is that the contractor did request a 30-day extension to the contract. They were supposed to be done by June 30th. The reason they're requesting is not because they're slow in installations. It's the MXUs or the radio units. There is a back order on that, and they want to make sure that they don't run out of time based on a back order of equipment that was pre-ordered. It's just that the factory's a little slower getting those meters out. But we are working with the engineer to look at that change order to add about 30 days. Hopefully we will not need that.
All right, very good. Any other questions from the commission? Comments? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, I'll entertain another motion.
I make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 10-15-1 NMSA 1978, subsection H-7 regarding threatening or pending litigations, interpret potash water rights to protest.
We have a second. Roll call, please, Donna.
Commissioner Butcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez? Commissioner Trujillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy?
Aye.
Mayor Conklin?
Yes, we will now go into closed session.